Alright guys, welcome back to Crossing Swords. I'm Andrew.
And I'm going to go back to being Jake this week, just because I think I've been someone else too often.
Alright, in this episode we're doing something a bit different. We've not done anything like this before. We're going to talk about Harry Potter.
We are. Not so much our opinions on the stories and the characters, but Harry Potter's a franchise.
Yeah, about the fact it's very much been the franchise of, 2-3 generations now.
It's been a little bit unique.
Yeah, I mean there's not been arguably anything else like it on the planet. I mean, you might be able to argue Star Wars was a bit similar, but in general it's really been a force to be reckoned with.
It has, no Star Wars pun intended.
No.
But we're sort of just going to look a little bit at our opinion, as in case you can tell, most of these pods are our opinions.
Yes.
And what we think made Harry Potter as big as it was and as big as it has been.
Yeah.
And I think the best place to start is to really get a grasp of what Harry Potter is and what it's become, just in terms of a few numbers.
Yes, absolutely. The numbers I found, to be fair, I couldn't get any more up to date than 2013. So bear in mind, a lot of these numbers would have very likely increased since then. But as of 2013, 910 million is the amount of dollars J.K. Rowling is worth, and it actually was more than that at the time, but because she gives such a large amount to charity, it's the only reason she's not a billionaire.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, I mean, you know, you could probably scrape and survive on 900 million, couldn't you?
I mean, you'd struggle, wouldn't you?
If you had to.
Absolutely. 15 billion is the estimated value in dollars of the Harry Potter brand as a whole. So that's the books, the films, the studios, all that sort of stuff. 6 is the number of years Rowling spent writing the manuscript that would become Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. 12 is the number of publishers to which Rowling's agency sent her 200-page manuscript of the book to. Only one of those expressed an interest in the book, and no one made an offer. A year later, 2,400 is the amount in dollars was the advance Rowling was paid by a London-based publisher called Bloomsbury. 8 was the age of the daughter of the CEO of Bloomsbury, who he forced to make his daughter read the manuscript, and she loved it and demanded more. So basically, if that one girl hadn't have liked Harry Potter, we wouldn't be sat here discussing it now. 500 was the number of original copies that Bloomsbury ran of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. 350 of those copies were sent to libraries. That means there's only 150 first edition Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stones out there.
And they are worth some money.
And again, as of 2013, so this would be more now, they're worth 40,000 for the first edition.
The very first release date is basically Harry Potter was introduced to the world on the 26th of June 1997. And your book has that edition, that publication date in it, not republished or whatever, it just says published 26th June or June 1997. Get yourself down.
You've got a minimum of 40 grand sat there.
Get yourself down to an auction house.
And get yourself some money. 11 million was the number of copies that the final book of the instalment, The Deathly Hallows, sold on its first day of release in the US and the UK.
Just putting that into context, that's 7 books in. The first book gets a limited edition, a limited print, 150 copies were printed.
Yeah.
Not sold, printed.
But of the final book, just in the
7 books down the line, you had 7 books down the line, and I think 9 years down the line, you had... no, not 9 years down the line, 11 years down... No, 10. It was a 10-year span. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Yes.
10-year span. So 10 years down the line, it went from being 150 copies printed to 11 million sold in a day.
Yeah.
And then it ran out and more people...
And that's just in 2 countries.
And that's in 2 countries, yeah. It's big in a lot of places.
450 million is the number of Harry Potter books in print worldwide as of 2013. So again, there'll be more than that now.
I mean, I've got a copy of all of them.
Yeah, I think most people have, to be fair. 73 is the number of foreign language translations of the books. 1.15 billion is the amount in dollars that was spent on the Harry Potter movies as a whole. Now actually, by today's standards, that doesn't actually sound that huge, because when we were discussing the podcast before doing it, Amazon are doing a TV series based off of the Lord of the Rings books, and they've spent $1 billion so far on the series.
$1 billion.
And that's just on one TV series.
Yeah, but to be honest, the TV and film industry has a rate of inflation that is unlike anything else.
Oh, absolutely. 7.7 billion, the amount in dollars of combined worldwide grosses of the Harry Potter movies. 1, 2, 5, 4, 6 and 4, number respectively of producers, screenwriters, editors, composers, cinematographers and directors who worked on the movies. 19.6 is the number of total hours of all the 8 Harry Potter movies.
That's a lot of movies.
And speaking of someone who actually sit and did the marathon ones, who fit every fucking hour of it, let me tell you.
The magic gets lost.
Oh, it does quickly. A little bit. 160 is the number of prop eyeglasses worn by Daniel Radcliffe throughout the films, most of which had no lenses in them to avoid unwanted reflections. 2 is the number of prop eyeglasses Daniel Radcliffe kept from the movies, and 1 was from the first film and 1 was from the last. 60 to 70 is the number of wands used by Daniel Radcliffe throughout the films. 1 is the number of ice cream trucks purchased by the members of the Harry Potter cast, which was bought by Rupert Grint to fulfil a childhood dream.
Which he still owns.
He does. And I've actually heard every now and again he stocks the ice cream van up and just drives around handing out free ice cream.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Therefore, it must be true. But no, I've heard it.
Yeah. So no, I think some of those numbers are ridiculous. I mean, the 11 million books sold in the first day.
It's a big franchise.
I mean, I've been to Harry Potter Studios in Watford 3 times now.
Not 3 times. I've been once, and they didn't have all the exhibits that they have now.
My partner's been there 4 times. Well, that's why we've kept going back, because the last few years they've added something.
That's just good marketing. That's nothing to do with Harry Potter franchising or speaking to people.
No, but I think you could argue the majority of Harry Potter
is a testament to them that people are such fans of it that it's like when bands do a re-release album with like a new cover and people buy it, like, but nothing's changed. No. It's the same song. It's just got a new cover and people are so into it that they're like they've got to have it. Yeah. It's the same thing. It speaks to that.
I mean, but to be fair, from the moment you walk through the door in Harry Potter Studios, it's all about how much money can they get out of you. But the thing is, I don't begrudge them it, because when you're going round, other than when you're in the gift shop, it's such a nice atmosphere. Yeah. You know, everyone, like the look on some of the little kids' faces when they see things, like now they've got it.
Yeah,
and like when you walk into the lobby now, they've got this huge dragon. From the second to last film.
The tour starts, I don't know where you were, but when you sort of queue up to go in, it starts with like the cupboard under the stairs and...
No, that's changed now. They've changed all of it. Since they've added Gringotts Bank, they've revamped the whole layout, or the majority of it. So when you first go in, that huge dragon from the second to last film is in the lobby. So while you're queuing up, that's there. And the whole thing is absolutely magical, but after 3 times... I mean, they advise that it takes 4 hours to go through, but because me and my partner had been there 3 times, we literally did it in under an hour, because the only thing we wanted to go and see was Gringotts Bank.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, in terms of going back to the books and the films, yeah, it just captured. Like I remember,
it really, really took.
Yeah, like I remember being. A kid, and I didn't actually hear about Harry Potter until the 2nd book. It might have even been the 3rd.
Okay. Well, I mean, we would have been sort of...
I was 6 years old when the first one came out.
Probably just a touch too young.
Yeah, and I think I believe it was the 2nd book when I first heard of it, and a guy at school was like obsessed with it, so he gave me the copy. No, I went of the first one, which I borrowed for a couple of days and then he wanted back. So I then went and got my own copy, and fell in love with it. And I just remember like being on holiday once in Greece when I think it must have been the Half-Blood Prince came out, and my dad was full on into the books. And like, it didn't matter where you went, people were talking about, have you got a copy of the book? Have you got a copy of the book? And you're like, we're in Greece. You know?
It is insane because books generally for the working class.
Yeah, they're not a big
not
thing.
something people own. You never go, have you got the books? You'd say, have you seen the film?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But have you got the... But you're right, there was a time when, and I sort of said to you before, there was... the Goblet of Fire actually was released on my birthday.
Yeah.
And my nan actually somehow, I don't know, because I was like fucking 9 or 10 or whatever it was at the time, somehow managed to get, I might not even be that, I might have been 8, but managed to get a copy somehow of the book, like pre-order it or whatever, so that she could come round on my birthday, on the release day, and give me the book. And obviously at this point it had taken off to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It was pretty big. I'm pretty sure Philosopher's Stone, the film, had come out. That came out in 2001, so it had come out by the time the book, The Goblet of Fire, came out.
Yeah.
And it was huge, and so I was very much expecting, like, well, it's going to be a couple of days before they're going to have to restock. They're going to sell out and restock before I get a chance to get a copy. But there it was, there and then. It was like fucking, and it was exciting. Cool. You get a book and it's cool.
Yeah.
Books. I mean, okay, I'm a little bit of an odd one and an outcast in that I like books. I do.
No, but I'll be honest and say I have to really be taken by a book to enjoy reading it. Otherwise, I don't really bother.
No, fair enough. And
so I'm the other side of the coin in the sense. So, but no, you're 100% right. I mean, I think it was when the Order of the Phoenix came out, and I remember it was that huge red one with the phoenix on the front. And it must have been the release day or not long afterwards. We had an assembly at school, and I was in secondary school at this point. And I actually think one of our friends, Alex, got it, and I could be wrong. And they were giving out copies of the books. I think he had like 6 or 7, and he was handing out copies of the book as a reward for whatever they'd done. And I have a feeling our friend Alex was one of them. I could be wrong, but I remember sitting there being like, I don't think I've done anything to deserve it, but I fucking want one, right?
No, I have to say it's I mean, people attribute the Harry Potter for reigniting the passion in reading.
I
don't think it's quite right, but it's got some.
I think it definitely inspired people to read more. As to whether that's been achieved long term, I think it definitely changed audiobooks with Stephen Fry.
Do you know what? The audiobooks can go and get fucked, and I'll tell you why. I love Stephen Fry, and I don't like the idea of... I don't really like the idea of... If you can't read, like, great, an audiobook's good, but I think the joy of actually reading it and interpreting it, doing your own voices for the characters, putting your own afflictions and whatever on each word, I think that's the joy of it.
Yeah.
But, anyway... that said friend Alex, and Al, I love you, but you can get fucked in this episode because I swear to God the man has those fucking audio books on repeat and he will play them like out loud. Like, I've been on holiday with Alex sharing a room and I'm drifting off, I'm trying to drift off sleep, and all I can hear is curses, thought Harry as he ran down the corridor. I'm like, I don't need to fucking... And then I remember once as well walking down the high street.
That's really inconsiderate.
Walking down the high street and he had one earphone in, one ear focused on me or whatever, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but he just turned around and went, "Oh, Dumbledore's just gone." I don't give a fuck, Al. If I'm not reading the book.
So bless him, Alex is a proper nerd, isn't he? But no, it's a bit weird listening to it when you go to sleep. But I understand the appeal of wanting to listen to an audiobook. The only thing I can sort of equate it with, I never thought I'd enjoy podcasts when I first heard of them, but I've enjoyed them so much that it's inspired me to, as you know, and as everyone knows listening to this, to actually make one. But yeah, I think it definitely sparked something with audiobooks. I think that's definitely a market that massively shot up afterwards.
Big time.
And I think that was also not just because of the books themselves, but by the choice of the voice actor they chose.
Well, you can't go wrong with Stephen Fry.
Mate, Stephen Fry is just the bollocks. I can't believe he wasn't in the films.
Yeah, everyone else was.
And that was one of the things I remember when I first read it. I loved.
Even like Rick Mail made it.
That I loved the most about the Harry Potter franchise in terms of the films was the fact that when J.K. Rowling was in negotiations to make them, she spoke to, obviously, as you can imagine, numerous studios, and she had one demand. It was her one non-negotiable, was that the films had to have British actors. There couldn't be a single role that was filled by someone
Well,
who
that's
wasn't
because
British.
Hogwarts is a British school.
Yeah.
And let's use that as a platform to jump off and start talking about why we believe it took off
Yeah.
so big. You know, one of the things I think that did so well, not the main thing, but one of the things I think was that it was a believable thing. So it was using places like King's Cross,
Yeah, Platform 9 and 3, that's
And,
such an ingenious thing.
but using things like King's Cross and saying, do you know what? Do you know that everyday place that you go to?
It's
Imagine
actually
if there was a
magical.
completely wonderful world just behind it, and because you're not part of the world, because you're not magic,
Yeah,
there's no way to prove it or disprove it,
yeah.
and it's almost right in it as
So it adds this sort of level of mystery to your everyday
and
life.
it sort of explains
Yeah.
a few incidents and stuff as being like magic related,
Yeah.
and that you never hear of it. You're like, well, you'd hear of it. Like, there's a whole
World
government
hiding
body
it. Yeah.
that is set up in order to hide it, and it's that kind of ability to be able to set it just enough in the real world.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're saying it's the real world, but imagine if, you know, Pokemon existed or something. It's like, it's the real world, and you'll never know about it.
And also, I think, in terms of what it did in imagination, it helped enhance your imagination as a child. I mean, if you think of visualising when you're first reading the book, the children going across in the boats to Hogwarts and the lights and the way it looked, and then you got to watch the film and it matched, like, it's very few times when you read a book and then it's adapted into a film and that they capture moments from it
And I will say
perfectly.
this, I've always said this about the films. I think the Harry Potter films, along with The Godfather, I think we've mentioned this before, are two of the leading examples of how to convert a book
Yeah.
to screen, because it leaves out just the right things to leave out, and it just alludes them with a
I would
line or
only
something.
disagree with you. There's one moment I disagree with them leaving out. It's in the DVD extras to this Deathly Hallows Part 1, but it's not in the film, and it really bugged me. It was one of the most moving moments for me out of all the books, was when
Spoilers.
Harry fuck off, spoilers. You're not gonna go fuck yourselves if you don't know what happens. in
You can
Harry
John
Potter.
Alex over there with the people getting fucked off.
Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. Was when Harry and Dudley have a heart-to-heart.
Yeah, no, I'll
And that was
appreciate
one moment, like, in the books, I remember thinking, that is fucking good character development. And I remember when me and my dad were talking about going to see the film, I said to him, that's the bit I'm looking forward to.
And then it
So for
wasn't
that
there.
not to be in there, I felt really pissed off. But other than that, I didn't have many issues with the
No, I mean, the
adaptations.
one I always like to use as an example is, again, spoilers, in the books, when Hagrid goes off on his mission, and there's like a whole chapter and a bit dedicated to him going off to get the giants to come down and fight the great battle.
Yeah, you don't need to see
And
that.
it's like, you don't need to see that, as long as you kind of know Hagrid when it didn't go swimmingly, you know, he's got like a black eye and that,
Yeah.
but they're here,
Yeah.
or some of them are here, that's kind of enough.
Yeah.
But I think that was. But I think for me, the reason that it took off so well, there's a couple of one. I think it spoke to the outcast in us,
Yeah.
because I think we've all at times felt like we don't belong.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if ultimately we find ourselves and we do,
Yeah.
we all at some point feel like we
Yeah.
don't belong. And Harry Potter, the sort of the main trio of characters, gave you an identity of belonging, because it's like, well, they don't belong. He's hated on because he's like the chosen one, but he's not the chosen one. He's like, he's getting special treatment, but he's not getting special treatment.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, it's like, oh, fucking, oh, Harry Potter, he'll get what he wants.
Yeah.
You've got a Muggle. You've got you know, a non-wizarding lineage,
Yeah.
shall we say?
Who's arguably the most intelligent person in the whole thing.
And you've got one of a guy who's very much an outcast, because no one wants to go near him because he comes from this great big poor family, like one of
Yeah.
the poorest people in the universe. He's like, you know,
Yeah.
can't even afford a basic box of chocolates, like
Yeah.
he's strapping together, and it kind of gives you this. It speaks to you because you can feel everything they've felt. The other thing as
Yeah.
well is that a few things. One, it's the thing that Stephen King, why so many Stephen King books have children as the protagonists, because we've all been children.
Yeah.
We can all read to it and relate to it.
Yeah.
That sense of not quite really understanding the
Yeah.
world, all of that, we can all
And
relate
also,
to that.
like, I'd say for our generation, because We were born in sort of the mid to late 90s, or early 90s in our case.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Potter is a couple of years older than us.
We grew up with him, so like around the time in the films, he had his first kiss in the books. We were having our first kisses. Do you know what? So there's moments or milestones you see for the characters.
But even not from our point of view, but from older people's point of view, they can look back and remember it. That once you get to adulthood, you will branch off and you can't all relate to each other's stories. But kids, that universal
there's something to identify with.
There's something to identify, and it's the
I
other
also
thing.
think J.K. Rowling found a balance in the story very well.
I was going to say the other thing is just quickly is setting it at school and being able to have a nice closed. Every year is a different story, so you're not worrying about timelines and being like, "Well, this you've watched the character grow. This is a new year. This is a new year. This is a new year. They're this old in this story. This old in this story. This old in this story." And that's a really clever thing as well, because again, you can identify that part of yourself, whether you're growing up with it or whether you're looking back. And be able to clearly identify. And there's no cross timelines. You're like, oh wait, did this happen? That happened. It's very clearly defined, very easy to follow.
Yeah,
and again, that's something very clever.
But I think the story as a whole, the world as a whole, there was a balance between fantasy, but it was grounded in reality, like you say, with things like King's Cross and rooting it within our culture, I suppose. But also allowing for dark moments and being willing to kill people off.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that caught me at the end towards it, was if you'd have had the sort of story it was and had no real consequences for what was happening, it would be far less relatable and far less enjoyable. But by having moments like Hedwig dying and it teaching you
there's a whole thing, if I remember the whole big thing of, again, spoilers, oh my god, I don't need to say it, spoilers, right? If you haven't seen it, read it, what the fuck are you doing? The whole thing in The Half-Blood Prince when Dumbledore was killed.
Oh, mate.
Everyone was like, don't you fucking spoil it. Don't you fucking spoil it. Everyone's like, I know who dies, I know who, and you're like, don't fucking spoil it. And it was the whole thing. I remember at the time, it being this big thing, like, friendships were ruined because someone spoiled that Snape killed Dumbledore.
Yeah, I mean, that book came out when I was on holiday, and that was the one I was talking about.
That was the one.
And my dad's, I think, we were away for 2 weeks, I think. And I think he'd finished reading it within a few days.
Yeah, sure.
And I just kept on at him. I wanted to know, and he was like, just read the book. And I was more interested in playing Pokemon on my Game Boy at the time. And I remember eventually getting it out of him, and then I felt like, no, I should have read it. I'd have enjoyed it. I'd have understood it more, because I just couldn't understand
how that would happen.
Yeah.
And you don't really understand until the Deathly Hallows anyway.
No.
When it's all explained retrospectively.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was the perfect thing at the perfect time is probably the most basic way.
I think Snape as well summed up quite nicely the a twist and turn that you were able to follow.
Yeah. Because
it starts out, it's like, well, Snape's a bad guy, he's out to get Harry.
Yeah.
And then by the second book you're like, I don't know, actually he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's actually the sort of like tough love teacher. He's looking out for him.
Yeah.
And then you get a bit further and you're like, oh, he's had a really heartbreaking history, and you're like, oh wow. And that's in The Half-Blood Prince when you kind of realise that. But then at the end you're like, he steps in, kills Snape, all for Voldemort kind of thing, or seemingly Voldemort, and you're like, he fucking was a bad guy, I fucking knew it. And then at the end you're like, oh, son of a bitch, and you're proper twisting your tongue.
And that's why the phrase or the word always resonates for so many Harry Potter fans, because it's just this moment you're like, oh my
the whole time, you're like,
fucking
the whole time,
God.
I didn't know, and now you
everything he did was a mixture of wanting to protect him because he loved his mum, and the pain and heartbreak he felt every time he looked at him, and you're just like, fuck me, like, just...
No, it's good, I think...
But I do wonder, when you have these huge stories that take 10 years to create, did J.K. Rowling know, when she started The Philosopher's Stone, that over here at the 10-year mark is where it was going to end up? Did she know how she wanted to get there, or was it an evolution as she did? That's what I find fascinating.
So no, she didn't. She knew how it ended,
but not how she was going to get
there. As many writers do when they write these kind of things. They have a start and they have an end, but she didn't know how it was going to evolve and flow.
Because the intricacy in it, I mean, even if you look at the fact that they've managed to create a spin-off film series from a fictional
This is it again. We didn't
within
mention
a fictional
we were
book.
talking about how big it was. He said this fictional book in the series ended up spawning 2 movies.
Yeah.
And now there's been a post saga play that's currently playing
Yeah,
at
the
West End
Cursed
and on
Child, which is
Broadway.
doing mate, have you looked at the prices for that thing as well?
Yeah, don't try. I'm never going to see it. Just for the record, I can't afford
My
it.
missus is one of the most big Harry Potter fans, as you know.
But even she's priced out of it.
She can't justify it. We can't.
No.
I just said to her, and the thing is, it's 2 halves. You're not even seeing the whole thing if you pay. You have. It's a 9-hour day if you want to see both.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, I can't. Like, if you want decent seats, you're looking at £500 a person. And I was like, I can't justify that. We could pay for a holiday for that. Do you know what I mean? But anyway,
No,
so
you
that's.
could, no. But it's getting it. It's trying.
Yeah.
It's getting it. That's my big Harry Potter. The other thing that I sort of want to say is that J.K. Rowling has come under a lot of criticism, greatly by the way, by Richard Madeley, who I'm quite like. I know it's not for everyone, but I quite like. Not necessarily the sitcom, the series, but the character Alan Partridge.
Yes.
I quite like. I think there's something just really enjoyable about him. And Richard Madeley does go full Alan Partridge at times. Like there's clips where he's like sitting there on when he's fielding on Good Morning Britain, and he's like looking across. He goes, "How much do you make?" And the woman's just like, "Well, I don't for a company." He's like, "No." She goes, "Well, how much do you make?" He goes, "Oh, quite well actually. I do quite well." And it's like, what's an arse? But there's one where he says, there are lots of very successful authors who who aren't very good writers. J.K. Rowling, for example. And it's like, but he's right. Like, literally speaking,
No,
she's not the
probably
greatest
not, no.
writer. But here's the thing: so you can have a brilliantly crafted book in terms of the literacy of it and whatever, but the thing that you have to have that really gets
It's
people
the root
is
idea.
characters.
Yeah.
People connect with characters. Now, soap operas, for example, the storylines are fucking ludicrous. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're low, sometimes they're high. They make no sense. You're not bothered about the plot, and it changes left, right, and centre. You're like, hang on a minute. Last week this was going on, and now this is going on.
Yeah.
That bullshit. But you invest in the characters, and people watch soap because they invest in the characters.
Yeah.
People will watch people do nothing just for the characters, because people connect to characters, and she's been able to write characters. Like I said, I think it speaks to the outcasting.
Yeah.
And also all the supporting characters as well were all great. We can all identify to the supporting characters. They were all like, oh, you're a Dean, you're a Luna. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's all these.
Yeah.
And I think it was just really good. Even the teachers were kind of 3D. So McGonagall, in particular, who starts out as being a little bit Snape-esque, and you're like, she's just a strict teacher, but actually she's strict because she's looking after you, and if push comes to shove, she'll jump down and get her hands dirty.
Oh, absolutely. Like, there's the moment in the books and obviously the film when Harry confronts Snape in the Great Hall.
Yeah.
And even now, if I sit and watch it, I'll get goosebumps. And then McGonagall steps out and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And she just starts like fucking going for him. You're like, oh!
Yeah, I mean, my only criticism is that I would be well fucked off if I was one of the students and I'd worked my arse off all year getting points for my cup, and then Harry Potter nearly gets himself killed, breaks all the school rules, but somehow makes... they're like, we'll take points off him for nearly getting killed, but because he did it in a cool way, we're going to give him all these other points in his house.
You would be the guy sitting there going, I call bullshit.
And his house, absolutely.
The other moment I just realised that
Constantly
disappointed me in
Dumbledore's office being
terms
like,
of...
bullshit.
The other moment that disappointed me in terms of the changing was the final scene between Harry and Voldemort.
Yeah.
Because in the books it's a very simple scene really, where Harry and him are in the Great Hall surrounded by everyone, and they're walking around in a circle and he's egging Voldemort on and like daring him to come at him, and they have this quite good duel in the book in your imagination.
Yeah.
And I found in the film I was a bit disappointed with that ending. It wasn't a bad ending, but it wasn't the one you picture having read the books.
I think the other thing that I think really works for
Sorry, I've ended up more just going for a...
your criticism of the film, critiquing the
Well, no, not just that, but yeah, critiquing. And
But
that
here's
wasn't the intention of
here's
this.
the other thing that I think works really well for Harry Potter, because when you set up a big universe like that, like Star Wars is a big universe that's been set up, but a lot of the work has been done by fans who have gone on to write comics and books that end up feeding the lore, and then they all got canonised, and then Disney came in and decanonised them and recanonised something. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
But a lot of the work was done by them. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, a big world, big books, and they are big fucking books that set up those worlds. You get backstories of backstories of backstories. With Harry Potter, I think she gives you just enough backstory of the history of it, but also just enough of the other houses and things like that to be able you to know what the houses are, and then you can identify with them. You can say, "Oh, you're a Ravenclaw." I've been a bit Hufflepuff today.
When they had that,
but they didn't. She didn't spend too long on it. She didn't dedicate chapters like George R.R. Martin is the kind of author who would dedicate like a whole chapter on Hufflepuff and why they are what they are.
Well, for example, to emphasise your point, George R.R. Martin in one of the books spends an entire chapter describing a jail cell.
Yeah.
Fucking chapter. Like.
Yeah, but I think Rowling did just enough because she knows these characters are important. But if you just use a tiny amount, a little littering of information here and there for people to pick up on, if they want to pick up on it, they'll pick up on it, and it sets up this grand universe. It sets up the whole school, and then the wider world in the later books. And it's really, I think she gets the balance perfect.
Yeah.
I don't throw the around perfect a lot when I talk about pieces of art and storytelling, but I think she gets the balance absolutely perfect in terms of just enough for you to be able to pick up on the rest of the universe, but not detract from it, not feel like you're getting too bogged down.
No.
And also not to feel like she's shoving it in your face and going, look at this
but
world.
Also,
it's just there.
You just fill in the blanks yourself as well.
But you're walking along, following the story, and in your peripherals there's things on the walls. It's not like she's turning you down through a door to go, look, see, there's this universe, there's this whole universe. It's just there if you pay attention.
Yeah.
And you can easily go through the books and not really pick up on a lot of it. And I think that was just, I will say it one last time.
It's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
But it did connect with people, and people do. They identify by Harry Potter, Gryffindor, Hogwarts houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was that craze at one point where everyone was
on Pottermore.
On Pottermore, finding out who. And I actually think the studio has missed out on a trick. I reckon they could have charged to have people sit in the chair with a sorting hat and find out officially.
Oh, absolutely.
What their house is. I was really shocked that was never a thing.
Absolutely, I think it's a great lesson to any aspiring writer or anyone who's got a story in their head that. Don't just read the Harry Potter books. When you come to do your story, don't worry about setting up the universe or whatever. That'll come. Yeah. You can do that as the books go on. Yeah. You don't need to use the first, chapter or two to establish the character in the universe. I mean, Harry, we don't really establish him. We sort of just set up and it goes, here's an orphan boy, half a paragraph or two, right. He's an orphan, he's living with his aunt and uncle, and then as the chapter progresses you realise they're dicks. And his life's not going very well. Yeah. And then the next bit sets up the book, the story, rather than the character or whatever. The character's just there, it's established.
The character develops along with the story.
Because you realise that actually the establishing stuff doesn't really matter too much. Also, I said just getting that balance right, setting up a world, but don't overdo it. And more importantly than anything, don't worry about the grammar, don't worry about... I mean, there's one line in a book where she uses the word, and I swear to God, you have to go through it and find out which one, but where she uses the word I think it's like ejaculate as a verb for speaking. It's like, holy hell, ejaculate Ron or something, and you're like, well... So don't worry about that kind of stuff, because do you know what? Focus on the characters. Yeah. Like, you might have a great plot and whatever, but get the characters right. Get characters that are relatable. And if you want to cop out, and it's not necessarily a cop out, set them as kids. Yeah. Because it is a really, like I said, Stephen King does it, Rowling's proven it, and Stephen King is another huge author. Yeah. Whose books have gone on to make great movies, or short stories have generally made the better movies. But again, we're not here about Stephen King. No. use kids, because use something that we can all identify to, because there is a way to appeal to a mass market and find common ground, because we all have common ground.
Yeah.
We've all been kids. And also then, the great thing about the thing that Harry Potter that not any other book is going to have, but when you talk about things being magical, well, actual magic is pretty fucking magical.
Yeah.
So introduce the world to magic, going through the doors for the first time. You said going across the boat with the little lamps, hanging out and being like, what is this place? It's creepy, and the chocolate that comes to life on the tree, it's things flying around on the carriage, and this is magical.
Yeah.
But don't worry too much about being the best dramatically correct writer. Get the characters down.
It's about having the plot and the character development.
And also, when you have the characters, develop them at a steady pace.
Yeah.
Obviously, you might not have 7 books to do it in. I appreciate that. But just move them along at a nice pace.
Yeah.
Have them react like human beings.
Yeah. Have it be relatable.
And this is the other thing. You don't have to delve into it again. George R.R. Martin would develop a whole chapter to every character that he wanted to make 3-dimensional. But characters are 3-dimensional. Every character that has more than one angle to them. Just allude to it. Just nod to it. A paragraph here, a paragraph there. Make them do something a little out of the blue that makes you question their motive.
Yeah.
It's really simple stuff like that that actually adds to the whole. It really gets you invested, because you invest in 3D characters, and even the side characters, like I said, it makes it better. It really does, and I think that's what she did. She wrote good characters.
And no character was black and white.
No. And also, the other thing, it was a large amount of right place, right time.
Oh, absolutely. I think it just struck a chord and shot off from there, and I think it still strikes a chord. Apparently my nephew is starting to get into Harry Potter, and he's 6 in January, so it's I think it will keep going.
And the great thing about the Harry Potter fandom, generally speaking, is unlike other fandoms that I've been a part of or breached into,
it's not snobby.
You can be as into it as much or as little.
You don't get judged.
So I'm into it, but I'm not massively into it. I wouldn't say I'm like a Potterhead or whatever the term is. Well, only on my good days. Only when the deal is cheap. But I think I've never felt judged. I've never spoken to other people who are in Harry Potter who have been like, oh my god, you don't know the fucking name of this, or you don't know what happened there, and it's like, no. But then I've spoken to other people, and they generally, and this is more on them, but I don't know how Harry Potter achieved it, but they share their passion in a really, just that in a passionate way, not in a snobby way, not in an I know more than you way. It's just a really...
You both just share the enjoyment you get
just the
from
fact people enjoy just the fact that you like it a bit. They're happy that you like it. It is my own personal experience.
Right, so what's something to potentially end on? I don't know how you feel.
I know what we can end on.
What's your favourite Harry Potter moment?
My favourite Harry Potter moment...
What do you want to end on, first of all?
In films or books? Either.
Yeah.
I think my favourite Harry Potter moment... What's yours? Because I can't... Is it the Heart to Heart?
In the book, it's the Heart to Heart. In the films, it would be the moment he confronts Snape. Just because of the actual visceral reaction I get when I see it.
I think probably in the books it would have to be the death of Sirius. I don't know, just really, obviously when you watch the film you're expecting it, you know it's coming, but in the books...
I didn't, I hadn't read that book.
Oh,
and then my dad, as we're pulling up to the cinema, says, it's such a shame Sirius dies in the end though, isn't it? And I was like, I beg your pardon? And he was like, Sirius, he dies. And I was like, I've not read the book, Dad.
Well, to be fair, it was very much under the assumption that you had. But no, that in the books, because it comes and it's just like, wow. In the films, I have to say it's the first the first time on the train when the magic stuff's going on, and you're just like, it is like you are like looking at it through the eyes of a kid.
Yeah.
That whole first third of that first act of the film where you're into the Great Hall, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
magical.
my mum said her favourite at the moment, and it'll never be topped, is the first time they see Hogwarts when they're on the boats.
Yeah, I would agree. That whole whole first act is just, it is magical.
Yeah.
The other one, I think my most underappreciated moment, and I think in the books it's fine, but in the films, I can't think of the chap's name. Oh my god, Kenneth Branagh even plays it so brilliantly.
Oh, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, it's his whole bit of when he sort of gets the amnesia, when the thing backfires, and he's like, "Who are you?" And just a quick question: who am I? Like that whole bit, I think he plays it so well.
And then when they're being flown out, he's like, "This is just like magic."
yeah. No, I think he did it. He did it really justice.
Yeah, I just think overall it was a fantastic franchise. I think I was really pleased how J.K. Rowling stuck to her guns in terms of only British actors, because the quality of the acting.
And
was
Americans love British actors acting in British accents.
When people sort of go like, "Oh, you know, why does she keep taking money from things like this?" It's like, well, mate, do you know what? Good luck to her. If any of us were in that scenario, we wouldn't turn it down.
Money.
Do you know what I mean? So just, I just think, I think she's done a brilliant job. I think the Fantastic Beasts films are all right.
I think, my worry was that she's not a screenwriter. Anyway, I want to end by thanking the 6-year-old girl,
8-year-old
girl,
for enjoying the book when her dad forced her to read
her
it.
dad was just like, right, here's a book aimed at kids, a manuscript aimed at kids, what do you think of that? Very carelessly almost, who read it, and I wonder how she feels. I wonder whether she feels in any way responsible.
To be the first ever child to read it.
Does she ever feel responsible that none of this would have happened if she hadn't gone to her dad and been like, you need to fucking publish this book.
Yeah.
You need this book to be a thing.
Yeah.
And not just said like, yeah, it's good, but gone and been like, make this.
Yeah.
Publish this. I wonder how she feels about it, but I'd like to thank her regardless.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank J.K. Rowling.
And thank J.K. Rowling, who on a train to Edinburgh many, many years ago, looking out on a field of cows, first conceived the idea of Harry Potter and began writing the first of the novels that would then go on to be this huge, sprawling universe.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably enough.
I would say so.
But also, as always, we love to keep the conversation going. Why do you think Harry Potter was successful?
Also, let us know what your favourite moments from Harry Potter was, from the books and the films. Why you think it was so successful. Let us know.
Why do you love it? Because one of the other things is it's the characters, because they're so real. It teaches you real life lessons. And
also, what character did you, as a child, identify with?
Didn't really touch on that, and I forgot to.
Yeah.
But it does teach you life lessons, and it does teach you sometimes shit happens and it ain't fair.
Yeah.
It teaches you that it's that growing thing of like circumstances don't matter, who you are matters, and you can all be whoever you want to be.
Exactly. So as always, guys, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and let us know what you think. And thank you for listening,
guys. Thank you as always, and let us know. Just what do you think? What are your favourite moments? Why do you think it's so big?
And just remember, guys, wands at the ready.
Always.
Bye.